I still think I didn't do anything wrong, just used what I had to move faster at work. Sleeping with my boss felt like a shortcut to the promotion I deserved, not some big betrayal. I didn't understand how bad it really was until my husband's lawyer walked into my office, handed me papers in front of everyone, and my whole career collapsed in one afternoon. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm still sure I did not really do anything wrong. I only used what I had to move faster. Other people use family money or connections. I used charm and a boss who could not stop staring at me. It felt fair. I worked hard. I hit every target. I stayed late. So when Damien started giving me special projects and quiet compliments, I took it as proof that I finally stood out. I told myself it was not cheating, just strategy. Elias was always so slow and careful, saving a little here, planning a little there. I said respect follows results, and I had results. If he felt small next to me, that was his problem. I tried to tell him that. He asked why I was home so late. I said I was working for our future. He asked if I was too close with my boss. I said he was paranoid. I thought I was winning until the day my husband's lawyer walked into my office. He said my name in a clear voice and handed me an envelope in front of everyone. That was the moment my strategy stopped feeling smart. I woke up before the alarm that morning. The kitchen was still half dark, only the fridge light on when I opened it. I looked at the old yogurt, the cheap bread, the plastic box with leftover pasta. It all felt so small. I made coffee and thought about the new campaign at work, the way Damien had looked at me across the meeting table the day before. He said I was the only one who understood the clients. I liked that. Elias came in wearing his usual faded school hoodie. He looked tired, but he always looked tired. He asked if I had another late night planned. I told him it depended on how serious my company was about winning. He said he missed having dinner together. I told him that was nice, but dinners did not pay for a bigger apartment or better schools for Iris. He went quiet and washed his mug like I had insulted him. I told myself I was just being honest. Someone in this family had to think past next week. I reminded him that my promotion would almost double my salary. He asked if I really thought Damien would give me that role. I said of course he would. He was not blind and he was not stupid. Elias did not like that answer. On the way out, I noticed he had written something on the paper calendar by the fridge. His writing was small and neat. On Saturday, in blue pen it said, "Downtown, 9:25. I asked if he was finally going out with friends. He said it was just an errand. I laughed and told him he was more secretive than he accused me of being. He did not rise to it. He just grabbed his bag and said he had papers to grade. The train ride to the office always felt like moving between two worlds. At home, I was the wife who did not buy new shoes, who said no to takeout. At work, I was the one who fixed broken campaigns and stayed calm when clients complained. When I got off the train and walked into the glass building, I felt like I finally matched the place. Damien was already in the open plan area, leaning over a junior's screen. He saw me and smiled like I was the only person in the room. He asked how his star performer was. I told him I had updated the deck late last night and that he would love it. He said he never doubted me. It sounded better than anything Elias had said in months, even if it was just office talk. In the stand-up meeting, Damien praised me for saving the account. He told the team I had gone above and beyond, and that some people were carrying more weight than others. A few co-workers glanced at me with tight smiles. I pretended not to see. If they wanted the praise, they could work harder. I thought that and felt proud. I said respect follows results, and I had results. Later, Damien called me into a small glass meeting room. He closed the door, but left the blinds half open, like that made it all fine. He said management was watching me, and that there was talk of a senior coordinator role. I told him I deserved it and more. He laughed and said people who want more have to show they are all in. The way he looked at me made it clear what he meant. My heart beat fast, but not in a bad way. I told myself this was how the world worked for people without rich parents. He brushed a crumb off my sleeve and said he liked that I was hungry. I told him hunger was the only reason I was not stuck in a small kitchen forever, counting coins. He did not know our apartment, but he laughed like he did. When the meeting ended, he touched my elbow as I walked out. It was small, but it stayed in my mind the rest of the day. That night was the launch party on the rooftop. I wore a dress I had hidden from Elias in the back of the closet. It was tight and made me look like I belonged in the city lights. I told Elias the party was basically work and partners were invited, but it was not a big deal. He said he would come for a little while after school events. I told him not to feel pressured. I knew he hated crowds. He said he did not hate them. He just did not like being extra. I told him someone had to be extra if we wanted to stop living like students. The rooftop was full of music and phone cameras. People posed near the rails, drinks in their hands. Damien moved through the crowd like he owned the building. When he saw me, he told me I cleaned up well, like I was usually a mess. I said I did my best, even on my budget. He said I would not have that budget for long if things went how he wanted. I understood. During the speeches, he pulled me up toward the front with the other leads. He put his arm around my shoulders while he talked about the campaign. He told everyone one person had gone beyond the job and saved them all. He named me. People clapped and looked at me. Phones came up. I saw one coworker filming, her face unreadable. Then Damien turned and kissed me, fast but not that fast, right there in front of everyone. It was not a friendly cheek kiss. It was clear. I froze for a second, then laughed and leaned in, like it was a funny, harmless moment. The crowd cheered. Someone yelled that we made a power couple. I raised my glass and let them think whatever they wanted. The attention felt warm and heavy on my skin. I forgot for a moment that I had a husband. When the applause faded, my eyes found Elias at the back of the crowd. He had just arrived. He was standing near the bar, still in his school clothes, holding a soda. His face was pale, his jaw tight. He did not come closer. He watched me like I was a stranger. I lifted my glass toward him as if this was all normal. He did not lift his back. On the way home, he drove in silence for a long time. Then he asked what exactly that kiss was. I told him it was nothing, just part of the show, part of the culture. He said it did not look like nothing. I said he was taking it too seriously and trying to pull me down. I reminded him in a cool voice that this was my career, that men in power liked me, and that he should be happy for our family. He said it did not feel like we were a family in that moment. I rolled my eyes and turned to the window. Back at the apartment, he did not hug me. He put his mug on the far counter and went straight to the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen, scrolling my phone. The rooftop video was already online, posted by a coworker. In the clip, Damien kissed me and I laughed, and it looked like I loved it. I watched it 3 times and saved it. My chest felt hot with a mix of fear and pride. When I finally went to plug my phone in, I saw his laptop open on the table. A spreadsheet was on the screen. The first row said date, event, expense, notes. The first entry read, launch party, rooftop. Before I could read the next line, I heard the bedroom door click shut behind him. The next morning, he was already on the couch when I came out, sitting straight, like he had not slept. The TV was on, but muted. Iris was playing on the floor with her dolls, humming to herself. He asked if we could talk before I left. I said it depended on if this was going to be another attack on my job. He said he just wanted to understand what was going on. He asked if there was something between me and Damien. I laughed and asked if we were in high school. He said he was serious. I told him he was imagining things because of one silly kiss at a party. He said it did not look silly when everyone cheered and the phones were out. I said that was just how people celebrated at work now, and that he would know that if he ever left his classroom. He went quiet for a moment. Then He asked if I would feel fine if he kissed a coworker at one of his school events. I told him no one at his school wanted that, and that it was different because my world was more intense. He said kissing my boss in front of the whole company was crossing a line. I told him he was trying to drag me down just when I was rising, and that successful women always had to deal with fragile men. Iris looked up and asked if we were fighting. I smiled at her and said we were just talking loud. Elias did not look at her. He said he did not feel respected. I told him respect was something you earned, and right now I was the one pulling us forward. I grabbed my bag and said I could not be late just because he was having feelings. He said we would talk later. I said maybe. At work, the rooftop clip had already spread. People watched it at their desks, pretending not to. One coworker asked if Elias was okay with it. I told her my husband understood that winners had different rules, and that smaller minds could not keep up. I said he was only upset because he felt left behind. She raised her brows and turned back to her screen. I decided she was jealous too. At lunch, I met Lena at the neighborhood cafe. She had already watched the video 3 times. She said I looked hot and powerful, and that the kiss was iconic. I told her Elias was mad. She asked what he said. I told her he accused me of sleeping my way up and tried to make me feel dirty. In truth, he had only said it looked like more than nothing, but accused me of sleeping my way up sounded better for my side. Lena shook her head and said he sounded insecure and boring. I told her he had asked if something was going on with Damien. She rolled her eyes and said every man thought a woman's success had to be tied to a man. I said Elias did not even see that I was doing this for us, for Iris. She told me no, I was doing this for myself and there was nothing wrong with that. She said if he could not handle it, that was a him problem. I liked that sentence. I repeated it in my head. That was a him problem. Our mother, Marjorie, joined us a little later, still in her work badge from the front desk job she hated. She had seen the clip too. She said I looked like the women she had always wanted to be when she was my age. I told her Elias was upset. She snorted and asked if I was surprised. She said men like him always loved strong women until those women made them feel small. She reminded me her own life had stalled because she did not take her chances. She said I should not waste mine just to protect a man's pride. I told them I felt bad that he was hurting. Lena said I was only saying that because I had been trained to be guilty. Marjorie said guilt did not pay rent. They told me I could do better than a teacher, that I could have a partner who matched my speed. I did not say I already had one at work, I just let them talk. It made me feel right. When I got home that evening, Elias was at the table with some papers. There was a folder next to his laptop with a label that said household. It was strange because he usually just stuffed bills into a drawer. I asked if he was finally becoming organized. He said he was just keeping track of things. I laughed and said he was overreacting like always. Iris ran up and hugged my legs, asking if I had brought treats. I said I could not keep us in treats if Daddy kept making drama at my job. He asked me not to talk like that in front of her. I said I would talk how I wanted in my own home. He looked at the folder, then at me, like he was measuring something. He said he did not want to fight. I said that was good because I did not have time for a man who wanted to argue with success. We had dinner at his parents' house 2 days later. Diane had made roast chicken, and the table was full of cousins and noise. It looked like a nice family picture, but I felt like I no longer fit. Arthur asked how work was going. I smiled and said our campaign had blown up in a good way. Someone down the table said they saw a video of my boss kissing me. The whole table went quiet for a second. I laughed loudly and said it was just a silly work thing, like a movie scene. I said Elias had lost his mind over it, as if I had done something terrible. A few people laughed weakly. I added that he was terrified I might out-earn him and leave him behind. I said he wanted me barefoot and stuck here while he played hero teacher. I saw Diane flinch at the words. Arthur cleared his throat and said Elias had always been proud of my work. He said he remembered Elias bragging about me getting the job in the first place. I smiled and said that was then, before things got real. I said some people liked the idea of a strong wife until she actually became one. I looked at Elias when I said it. He stayed quiet. One of his cousins asked if everything was okay between us. I said it was fine, that couples fought, but some men could not handle women in male spaces. I shook my head like I felt sorry for him. A few of the younger cousins nodded. I could feel the weight shifting, the story sticking. Diane spoke softly and said rooftop kisses with a boss would hurt any husband. She said, maybe we should talk privately. I said we did not need to hide it, that this was not the dark ages. I joked that if Elias spent as much time on romance as he did on spreadsheets and lesson plans, I would not need extra attention. A few people laughed. Elias's face tightened. Iris looked between us, confused. Elias put down his fork. He said he did not appreciate being mocked in front of his family. I said I did not appreciate being dragged for doing my job. He said this was not about my job, it was about respect. I said respect was a two-way street, and that right now only one of us was bringing anything big home. Arthur and Diane exchanged a look. Diane asked softly if she could help with anything. I told her the only help I needed was for people to stop treating me like I had done something shameful. I added that women like me were always the villains when they dared to climb. Later, while dessert was being passed, Elias's phone buzzed. The screen flashed, unknown caller. He excused himself and stepped outside. When he came back, he looked very calm. He thanked his parents for dinner in a careful tone, like he was saying goodbye to something. I noticed, but I did not know what it meant. That night, after we put Iris to bed, I heard the printer hum in the small corner where we kept it. The smell of toner spread into the hallway. I asked what he was printing so late. He said he was just testing it. When I went to look, there was only a blank page in the tray. I rolled my eyes and called him dramatic. On his laptop screen, the spreadsheet from before looked neater. More rows, more dates. I could not see the notes. He closed it when he saw me looking. He said again that he did not want to fight anymore. He said he would handle everything properly. His voice was so even that, for a second, I felt a small chill run through me. Then I told myself he was bluffing. I told myself stories were still more powerful than numbers. The week after that, I decided I would stop feeling guilty. Guilt was heavy and useless. At work, results were what mattered. On Monday morning, Damien called me into his office before the team stand-up. The glass walls made everything look open, but the door was closed. He told me upper management was impressed with our numbers. He said there was serious talk about a senior coordinator role and hinted I was first in line. I asked what serious talk meant. He said it meant I needed to stay focused and show I was fully committed. No distractions, no drama. I knew he meant Elias and the rooftop noise. I told him my home life was my own problem and that nothing would get in the way of my work. He smiled and said that was what he liked about me, that hunger. He put his hand on mine for a second, then pulled it back when someone walked by. My heart still jumped. I told myself this was adult life, not some high school thing. Two grown people, both choosing. The more Damien praised me, the smaller Elias felt when I got home. That was not my fault. I came in with stories about a big client mentioning my name. Elias talked about a student finally understanding fractions. I tried to act interested, but it was hard. He asked if I could eat dinner at a normal time for once. I told him big lives did not fit into school schedules. He said Iris missed me when she went to bed. I told him she would thank me later when she saw what kind of life I gave her. One night he asked again if there was anything I needed to tell him about Damien. I sighed and said we had already done this. I said he knew how this kind of culture worked, fast and close. He said he did not know that, actually, because he was not sleeping with his boss. His voice was calm, which bothered me more than yelling. I told him he was twisting things and that he sounded like some bitter internet man who screamed about women online. He said he only wanted honesty. I said honesty was that I was doing more than he ever had for our future. He asked if I was using our joint card for hotel rooms. I felt a stab of fear, but did not show it. I said sometimes the team booked last-minute rooms near client offices, and he should trust me. He said maybe he would trust me more if he did not see Central Hotel on the bill the same nights. I said I was stuck at the office. I told him he was spying on me and trying to control me. I said the problem was not where I worked, but that he did not like me having power. I went to Lena the next day and told her he had accused me of using sex for my career. In truth, he had only asked about the bills. She slammed her hand on the cafe table and said he was disgusting. She said he should be proud his wife was wanted by powerful men. I repeated that sentence in my head, too. Powerful men. It made me feel taller than my actual height. At pickup time, I went with Elias to Iris's school for once, trying to show I was still a good mother. In the parking lot, another parent smiled at him and said he was always there, so reliable. She asked if I was working all the time. I told her someone had to pay for all the school fundraisers. I joked that Elias was great with numbers but not with emotions. The woman looked uncertain, like she did not know if it was a joke. Elias kept his eyes on Iris, buckling her into the car. Later, he said he did not like me talking about him like that. I asked what part was not true. He said the part where I acted like I was alone in this. I told him, calmly, that in many ways I was. It was around then that the first email from HR arrived. The subject line was Policy and Conduct, Quick Check-In. I opened it at my desk. Nadia, the HR manager, asked me to stop by for a short meeting about workplace boundaries and culture. My stomach dropped, but I told myself it was a box-ticking thing. I told Damien about it. He said HR liked to pretend they did not see anything until someone made them look. I asked if someone had made them look. He said he did not know, but we should be smart. He said to keep calm, deny anything that looked bad, and frame the rooftop kiss as playful and harmless. In the HR meeting, Nadia sat across from me with a laptop. She spoke very gently. She asked how I would describe my relationship with my supervisor. I said we had a strong professional bond and that he believed in me. She asked if any lines had ever been blurred. I laughed and said it was 2020s, not the 1950s, and people were allowed to be human at work. She asked if I understood the company's policy on romantic relationships between managers and direct reports. I said I had signed a lot of forms and did not remember every line. Then she mentioned that someone had sent a video of the rooftop kiss and some screenshots of late-night messages. She did not say who. I felt heat climb up my neck. I said people love drama and that my husband was jealous. I said he did not like how close I was to success and was twisting things. She wrote notes as I spoke. She asked if I felt pressured into anything. I wanted to say no, because I chose. I said everything that happened was between two adults and helped the company. She nodded and thanked me. When I got home that night, Elias was already in the guest room again. He had moved some clothes into the small wardrobe there. I asked if this was permanent. He said he did not know yet. He said he needed space to think clearly. I said he was being dramatic. He said something else, that he had reached his limit and would handle everything properly from now on. His voice was firm, not loud. I hated that calm tone. Later, when he went to brush his teeth, I poked around his desk. I found a taxes folder in the drawer. Under it, taped to the wood, was a small USB drive with a date written on it in marker. It looked ridiculous. I laughed and told myself he was turning into a conspiracy person. I did not pull it off. I did not want to touch this new, careful version of him. In the days after the HR talk, I noticed more little signs. His phone buzzed with meeting personal reminders. There were missed calls from unknown caller. He had a separate mug on the far counter now, always in the same place, as if that half of the kitchen was another country. I told myself he was trying to scare me. I told Lena he was probably talking to some counselor who would tell him to set boundaries. She said he could set all the boundaries he wanted. It would not change how the world worked. Damien kept our meetings quieter. No more obvious touches in front of others. He told me HR was looking, but that these things usually blew over. He said the company did not want to lose talent. I asked if I should be worried. He said only if we lost our nerve. He asked if I was still all in. I said yes, even though my chest felt tight. One afternoon, as I walked downtown with Damien after a client lunch, we passed a tall building with tinted windows. A law office plaque was by the door. I only half saw it, laughing at something Damien said. I did not see Elias walking out of the lobby a few minutes earlier, his backpack over his shoulder, a calm look on his face. I did not know he had sat in a waiting room with my messages printed in a folder. At the end of the week, another HR email arrived. This one said, "Formal investigation meeting, external counsel present." My fingers went cold. I went home and told Elias HR was being ridiculous, that someone had clearly poisoned them. He listened and said almost nothing. Then he told me, in a very quiet voice, that he was done arguing and done being the villain. He said again he would handle everything through the right channels. That night he updated something on his spreadsheet. I could see more rows, more dates. I went to bed thinking he was just counting pennies. I did not see he was counting the days until everything broke. The day of the formal investigation meeting, I dressed like I was going to a promotion interview, not a trial. I chose a clean blazer and the good heels I almost never wore at home. In the mirror, I looked like someone who knew her value. That mattered. People believed what they saw. At work, the atmosphere felt different. Conversation stopped when I walked by. I told myself it was because people were impressed, or jealous, or both. Nadia from HR sent a reminder email with the time and room. I opened it and saw the words, "External counsel" again. I told myself it was just standard. In the meeting room, Nadia sat on one side of the long table, next to a woman in a dark suit I had never seen before. The woman introduced herself as an outside advisor but did not smile. She asked me, very calmly, to describe my relationship with Damien again. I said he was my mentor, my manager, and my champion. I said he trusted my work, and I trusted his leadership. It sounded good. She asked if the kisses and hotel stays were part of that leadership. My throat went tight. I asked what hotel stays. She slid a piece of paper across the table. It listed dates, hotel names, and amounts. All of them matched nights I had told Elias I was stuck in the office. My own signature was on one of the receipts. I felt something drop inside my chest. I said those were team overnights near clients. She said the receipts were for rooms booked for 2 people, not a whole team. She asked if I still wanted to say nothing inappropriate had happened. I told her everything was between consenting adults and none of the company's business. She reminded me the company's policy said otherwise when it involved a direct manager and possible favoritism. She read a line from the policy I did not remember signing. Nadia asked how I thought it looked to other staff when my boss kissed me in front of everyone and then pushed for my promotion. I said envy always made things look worse. I said people did not like seeing a woman rise. I even mentioned my husband's jealousy. Nadia typed something. The outside lawyer said their role was not to judge my personal life, but they had to protect the company. She said there would be another meeting after they finished their review. Then they thanked me, as if they had not just torn open my life. I walked out trying to hold my head high. In the restroom, I locked myself in a stall and pressed my hand to my chest. For a moment, I thought about calling Elias, but then I remembered his calm face and his new sentence about the right channels. No, I told myself he had started this. I told myself I was not going to give him the satisfaction. That weekend, we had another family dinner at his parents' house. It felt like everyone had decided to test how far things could stretch before snapping. The long table was full again. People passed dishes and pretended nothing was wrong. It felt fake. I decided I would not be fake. Arthur asked how work was, in that careful voice. I smiled big and said things were intense, and that apparently some people could not handle a woman being noticed. A cousin snorted. Someone else said they had seen the clip again because a coworker shared it. I leaned into it. I told them the whole story of the rooftop, with extra detail, like a funny story. I said my boss had kissed me, everyone clapped, and my poor husband nearly fainted from embarrassment. Elias stared at his plate. Diane shifted in her chair. She asked softly if we really needed to talk about that at dinner. I said why not? It was public already. I said hiding it would not make it less real. I added that if people had a problem, maybe they should ask why a simple kiss made them so uncomfortable. I called it a harmless celebration. One of his cousins asked if the school parents had said anything. I laughed and said they still loved him, that he was the perfect little teacher. I called him Mr. Reliable. I said the only thing he could not handle was me. A couple of people laughed but did not look at him. I could feel the room split, and I liked that. If they were all staring at him, they were not staring at me. Elias's father cleared his throat. He said he had seen the video too, and that, from a parent's point of view, it had been hard to watch. He said it would be hard for any husband. I asked if he was saying his son was weak. Arthur said no, he was saying his son deserved respect. I said respect went both ways and that maybe respect meant supporting a wife who was finally doing something big. Diane spoke up, voice slow and steady. She said she had always admired my drive, but that kissing a boss at a work event was not just my business anymore, not when everyone could see it. She said she worried about Iris, about what people would say. I snapped back that Iris would be fine, and that it was better she had a mother who reached instead of settling. Iris, sitting between us, asked why Daddy was sleeping in the other room now. She asked it in a small voice, like she was asking about the weather. The table went stiff. I forced a smile and said it was because he snored. She looked at him. He shook his head almost, then stopped himself, and told her she did not need to worry. I hated that look between them, as if they had some secret I was not part of. Later, while people were eating dessert, Lena showed up late as always, and took a seat next to me. She said she had heard all about Elias reporting me at work. I said it loud enough for others to hear. I called him a snitch. I said he had gone behind my back to HR instead of talking to me. Some of his cousins looked at him, waiting. He finally lifted his eyes. He said he had told the truth to the people who were responsible for our safety, including mine. His voice was low but clear. He said he had described what happened and shared what I had already made public. He said he had not twisted anything. I said he was punishing me because he was scared I would leave him. He said he was done trying to hold on to someone who did not want to be there. Marjorie, who had been quiet until then, spoke up. She said men always called it truth, when they were really just trying to control a woman's power. She said if someone at HR had a problem with me, that was their old-fashioned thinking, not mine. I saw Arthur's jaw set. Diane looked tired. Elias looked around the table, at his parents, at Iris, at me. Then he said he did not want to have this fight in front of the whole family anymore. He said he refused to be the clown at my story nights. He said if I wanted to see him as the villain, that was my choice, but he would respond like an adult. He said he would handle everything properly, through the right channels. The words hit differently this time. The room went quiet except for a fork tapping a plate somewhere. Lena tried to joke that he sounded like a lawyer now. No one laughed. Diane asked him what he meant. He said it was not the time to go into details. He thanked his parents for the meal, in that same careful tone as before, like he was closing a book. On the drive home, he did not speak. Iris slept in the back seat. I stared out the window at the city lights. When we got inside, He carried Iris to her room without waiting for me. I went to plug my phone in on the kitchen counter and saw his laptop open again. The spreadsheet had grown. There were more rows, more dates, more notes. The file name was simple, Record. I clicked on one row before he came back. The note said rooftop party video posted by coworker, link saved. Another said hotel charges, joint card. Another said HR meeting. Morwenna called it girl in male space problem. My own phrases, written in his neat lines. He walked into the kitchen and gently closed the laptop. He said we had said enough for now. He said the next steps would not be about shouting, but about facts. I told him he was making a mistake. He said maybe. He added that some mistakes had consequences, and this time, those consequences would be clear. When I went to bed, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was an email notification from HR, subject line, follow-up, investigation outcome meeting. I stared at it in the dark, while, down the hall, a shredder hummed once, and then went quiet. The morning of the outcome meeting, I got dressed as if it was still about my promotion. I put on the same blazer, but this time it felt heavier. I did my makeup carefully, not too much, just enough to say I was in control. In the mirror, I told myself this was a bump, not an ending. I decided I would walk into that building like it still belonged to me. Elias was in the kitchen when I came out. He had Iris's lunchbox open, cutting fruit into neat little pieces. He looked up and asked what time my meeting was. I asked why he cared. He said he just wanted to know how my day would go. I told him HR was wasting my time and that they would realize it soon. He said they probably already knew what they planned to do. I asked what that was supposed to mean. He said nothing else, just reminded me that he was picking Iris up alone that afternoon. The train was packed, but I felt more alone than ever. I watched people scroll on their phones, thinking none of them knew how close I was to losing everything, and still insisting I was fine. I pictured Damien in his glass office, rehearsing some smooth line about misunderstandings and culture. I told myself he would not let them cut me off. He needed me. When I walked into the office tower lobby, the air felt colder. People moved around with coffee cups and badges, but I noticed some eyes on me. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe not. I went toward the elevators, heels clicking. Halfway there, a man in a plain suit stepped in front of me. He asked if I was Morwenna Ward, using my full name. I said I was, because what else was I going to say? He told me he had documents for me, and that I had been served. He held out a thick envelope with my name typed on it. His voice was clear, not loud, but it echoed anyway. A couple of co-workers slowed down. Someone by the security desk turned. My mouth went dry. I took the envelope because my hand moved on its own. He said something about divorce, petitions and motions, all in that calm, formal tone. My heart thudded so hard I could hear it. I looked up and saw Elias across the lobby, near the glass wall. He was standing with a man I did not know, probably his lawyer. Elias was in a simple shirt, no tie, backpack over one shoulder, like any other teacher in a grown-up space. The lawyer said something to him and pointed at me. Elias did not smirk or gloat. He just watched to make sure the papers were in my hand. Then he nodded once to the server, like checking a box on a list. Before I could even process the weight of the envelope, I heard my name again. Nadia was by the reception desk with another woman from HR. She walked over and said they needed me upstairs for the scheduled meeting. She glanced at the envelope in my hand, then at Elias, then back to me. Her face was careful, like she was trying not to show anything. She said we could still proceed as planned. I felt everyone's eyes press against my back as we moved to the elevators. In the HR meeting room, the outside lawyer was there again, along with a senior director I had barely spoken to before. My chair felt low and hard. Nadia started by saying they had completed their review. She said they had confirmed a relationship between me and my direct supervisor that broke written company rules. She said they had seen messages that showed favoritism and late-night plans that had nothing to do with work. The outside lawyer slid a folder toward me. Inside were printed screenshots of my messages with Damien, hotel confirmations, and that rooftop clip again, frozen at the exact moment his mouth was on mine. There were even copies of my own posts, the ones where I had joked about being spoiled by my boss and hinted that my husband could not keep up. I recognized the phrases. They sounded sharper on paper. I tried to fight. I said it had been between two consenting adults and that it did not affect my performance. I said people slept with their bosses all the time, and no one cared when the man did it. I said the problem was that someone with a grudge had gone digging. Nadia answered that their job was not to judge my personal life, but to look at risk. She said this kind of relationship put the company at risk. The director added that my public posts had made it worse. They told me the promotion was being withdrawn. They said I was being placed on immediate unpaid leave, with termination for cause pending final paperwork. Nadia said my badge would stop working after I left the room. She asked me to return any company property by the end of the day. The director thanked me for my past contributions, as if that made it better. The outside lawyer watched me without expression, as if I was a case file that had reached its last page. I said this was all because my husband could not handle a strong wife. I said he had turned them against me. Nadia shook her head and said they had more than one source. She said my own posts and receipts had done most of the work. I felt something twist in my stomach at the idea that my words had built the case against me. When they finished, they escorted me back to the lobby. I held the HR envelope in one hand and the legal envelope in the other. My head buzzed. Around us, people pretended not to stare. A co-worker at reception glanced away too slowly. Another stood near the coffee stand, phone in hand, half lifted like he could not decide if he should record. Elias and his lawyer were still there. The lawyer was looking at some papers, but Elias focused on me. I walked over because I could not walk over. I told him this was insane, that he did not have to go this far, that we could talk. My voice shook. He listened, hands in his pockets. He told me, in a low voice, that he had tried to talk many times. He said he had warned me he would handle it properly if things did not change. He nodded toward the documents I was holding. He said the divorce petition protected his finances from my choices, and that the custody motions focused on giving Ira stability. He said he had included proof of how I had spent joint money on hotel rooms, and how I had publicly mocked him with my boss. He said nothing about revenge, only about protection. That word hurt in a strange way. I asked if he was happy now that I was losing everything. He said he was not happy about any of it, but he was done being the story's clown while I played the hero. He said he would not raise his daughter to think this was normal. Then he told his lawyer he was ready to go. He turned back once and wished me good luck with my career. His voice was calm, not cruel. He walked out through the glass doors into the bright daylight. His shoulders were straight, not slumped like before. People in the lobby watched him leave the way they had watched me on the rooftop. I looked down at the HR letter peeking from its envelope. I could see the words termination for cause and policy violation. My phone buzzed with a new email from HR, and a message from Lena at the same time. My hands shook so much I almost dropped everything as the elevator doors slid shut behind me. The elevator carried me up like a box on a conveyor belt, my life stuck under my arm in two envelopes. In the HR room, they took my badge and laptop. Nadia thanked me for my contributions and watched while security checked my bag. I wanted to scream that I built their numbers, that Damien used me more than I used him, that Elias should be the one ashamed. Instead, I signed forms where they pointed. When I stepped back into the lobby, my badge was dead, my job was gone, and the divorce petition felt heavier than the purse.